Welcome back, friends, to the class number 53. Now we are giving the final touch to our series on the drawing power calculation. Now I will discuss something unique with you that I haven't discussed in last 4 years of my YouTube career. I am discussing with you the problems associated with the drawing power calculation. What are the risks and what are the problems that we are following when we follow the drawing power method in calculations, right? So what are these problems? The first problem is the ignorance of other current assets and other current liabilities. While calculating the drawing power, we are considering only stock, debtors, advances to suppliers, creditors, and advances from customers. Besides them, there can be other current assets and other current liabilities also. There can be prepaid expenses, there can be GST receivable or GST payable. If there is GST receivable, that also represents the investment by the borrower in GST, right? For that investment, borrower also needs money for it, right? So if we have given some kind of security or margin to some corporates, so your money is stuck up in that security or margin as well, which may be given for a 12 months period only, right? So that also is a part of current asset. So since you are not counting on the other current assets and other current liabilities, you are focusing on only 3 or 4 line items in the current assets and current liabilities. That itself makes it difficult for you to understand the whole picture of the business, the whole requirement of the business. Practically speaking, there are multiple cases that I have come across in my career where the DP of the client was not meeting, and I was, as a credit guy, saying to the client that, sir, your drawing power is not met, so we cannot give you this much facility, you can withdraw down only this much of facility. But the client was on other side of it, was continuously saying to me that, sir, please look at my other current assets and other current assets as well. There are many other investments that I need to do in GST, in other prepaid expenses. I receive the goods at 18% GST. I pay 18% GST, while my output, my finished goods attract only 5% GST. So there is always, in nutshell, there is always GST standing in my other current asset side that also represents my investments. I need funding on that also, right? But we as a banker don't listen to it because we have to follow the rules, we have to follow the formula. So this is a kind of a drawback for a drawing power, that I must say. Then one another drawback that I want to say, that the drawing power is calculated only of one date. I have already told you that for calculation of drawing power, we take monthly stock statements from the client. So stock statement is given on the last day of the month, as of the last day of the month. So the figures of stock, debtors and creditors are of 30th or 31st of the month, right? So by calculating the figures of 30th or 31st, we are assuming that this much of investment in stock or debtors or creditors remain throughout the month, right? So practically, assuming the whole 30 days basis only the figures of one day is technically incorrect, right? So it is an inherent risk in this calculation. We cannot do the drawing power calculation on daily basis, obviously, but this is a problem that is associated with the drawing power calculation. Then another problem that I have already discussed, that once you have fixed your drawing power, then that drawing power remains fixed for next 30 days. If you are submitting the monthly stock statements, your drawing power of 30th April will remain applicable for whole of May month till you submit your next stock statement. Problem occurs in seasonal industries or in any normal industries. If you have any amount to pay or any sudden expenses that you have occurred, suppose on 15th May or on 20th May, you are not allowed to draw down more money from your bank, even if your requirement is genuine, right? So many banks allow the submission of interim stock statements, but that is accepted on very exceptional basis. So this is again another drawback that I have found in the drawing power calculations. Then one another problem here is that the data given for drawing power, that figures of stock, debtors and creditors, it is just mere a declaration. There is no mechanism to cross check these figures each and every month, right? We do stock audit once a year. The stock auditor verifies the figure once a year, but we cannot verify the figures for whole 12 months every month, right? So the purpose of drawing power was that the client, the borrower, does not divert the funds. We come to know regularly about their stock movement, debtors movement and creditor movement. But practically speaking, when we work in the bank, there on monthly basis we cannot track their movement regularly, right? Although some banks are introducing the monitoring teams, these monitoring teams have started to analyze the stock statements on monthly basis and flag off the concerns if they have found any to the local credit manager or relationship manager. But again, in many of the banks, this practice is not followed, right? So it is defeating the whole purpose of taking the stock statement, calculating the drawing power, because it is just because a mere declaration, the client can manipulate the figures anytime. He can manipulate the figures, give you excess figures. There is no mechanism for you to check this, right? So you cannot check this on monthly basis as well. So this is an inherent problem in calculation of drawing power. Then another problem comes is this is applicable only for cash credit facility. Why are we monitoring only cash credit facility? The overdraft facility is also given for working capital purpose. Sometimes drop line overdraft facility is also given for working capital for purpose. There are many other facilities like packing credits, buyer's credit, channel finance, bill discounting that I have already discussed in the previous video. These are also given for working capital purpose. But why we are restricting the drawing power calculations only to the cash credit limit? Why, if we are giving only channel finance limit to the client, why are we not tracking the drawing power for channel finance limits also, right? Although there are some basis behind that I will discuss in the coming videos. There are some logics behind it, but sometimes it feels that we are being too harsh. We are calculating the drawing power only for cash credit limit, right? So this is another inherent risk in the drawing power that I have found. Then last point is the calculation flaws of the drawing power. So the margin percentage you are taking, some banks are taking 25% promoter margin, some banks are asking for 40% margin, some banks are asking for 50% margin on debtors and 25% margin on the paid stock. So the percentage of margin can change on case to case basis, and it is purely dependent on the decision of the credit manager of the bank, right? So the credit manager decision cannot always be based on the logic. It can be biased and it can be subjective without any proper knowledge or proper logic behind it. For example, there is one of my client in Jalandhar area. So the last month the stock audit was going on for that client. So what I have found that the client was recently associated with me on last month only, but I have found that the bank has taken 50% margin on the debtors and 40% margin on the paid stock. This much higher margin is taken on that trader profile wherein the movement is quick, and such a high margin contribution is not practically possible for them to invest in the business. So pure biasness was followed in applying the margin by the banker. The margin should have been lower in that profile, but again the decision were taken incorrectly. Then another calculation flaw is the cover period. Some banks are allowing stock up to 190 days. Some banks are allowing up to 180 days. Some are allowing up to 270 days. Similarly for debtors, some are allowing for 90 days, for 120, for 150. There is no practical method that is followed by the banks in calculating this. There is a lot of subjectivity or biasness involved in this. Like I have seen many cases where the working capital or debtor cycle of the client is 150 days because he is dealing in heavy machinery. But the bank is insisting that we will not allow the debtors beyond 90 days to you because our policy don't allow it. We have to go to higher forum to take the approval of 150 days debtors. So we will not allow it. So what will happen when the stock audit comes? The client will keep on submitting the stock statement, manipulated obviously because he wants the drawing power. But when the stock auditor comes, he calculates the debtors up to 90 days and the drawing power always falls short, right? So then another is the treatment of group firm debtors. I have explained to you that group firm debtors are not included in the total debtors, but some banks are allowing the inclusion, some banks are not allowing the inclusion. This creates a lot of confusion as to whether to allow or not. There is no defined thumb rule or concept or logic followed by the banks. Then another one is the inclusion of advance from customer and advances to supplier. I have already told you that this adjustment is necessary and need to be done, but many banks are not doing this. Many banks are not considering the advances from customer and advances to supplier, like they are not considering the impact of other current assets and other current liabilities, right? Similarly, there is no defined cover period for advances from customer and advances to supplier as to how much old advances from customer can be taken, as to how much old advances to supplier can be taken. The bank's policies of most of the bank are silent on this. Then there is the treatment of other facilities. I have explained to you in the previous video that there are two school of thoughts on to how we can treat the other working capital facility, the method 1 and method 2 that I have told you in previous video. So there is no clear-cut guidelines as to what is the correct approach and what approach should be followed. Some banks are following the first school of thought and some are following the second school of thought. There is no clear picture. The second school of thought is more conservative and it results in lower DP and lower limit availability to the borrower, right? So these are the ambiguities or the confusions or the problems you can say that I have found in the drawing power calculation. If you have any other problem that you think that there is there in the drawing power calculation, then please do comment on the video. I will share my thoughts on it. Thanks for watching the video. We will meet in the next video. Thank you very much.